Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 62 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome aboard, and if you've been a loyal listener, welcome back. We have much to get to today and not a lot of time to do it. We have a few sections that we'll get into, but they may not be the ones you're used to hearing. Let's get to our content for the week. An injured superstar has seemingly made one of the quickest recoveries ever. Milwaukee Bucks guard Damian Lillard has been cleared of his deep vein thrombosis or blood clots and is already off blood thinning medication. Why is this a quick recovery, you ask? Doctors told Bucks officials that this recovery speed has never been seen before, but the early treatment from specialists helped tremendously. Deep vein thrombosis is an abnormal clot within a vessel. Blood congealing blocks the flow through going back to the heart. Lillard has no timeline for a return as of this moment. He was ruled out Saturday prior to Game 1 of the Bucks-Pacers series. The NBA has announced the finalists for the regular season awards. For MVP, we have Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Defensive Player of the Year will either be Dyson Daniels of the Atlanta Hawks, Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors, or Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The finalists for Most Improved Player are Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons, Daniels again, or Ivica Zubac from the LA Clippers. For Sixth Man of the Year, there's Malik Beasley of the Detroit Pistons, Ty Jerome from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Peyton Pritchard from the Boston Celtics. The Rookie of the Year candidates are Stephon Castle from the San Antonio Spurs, Zachary Risache from the Atlanta Hawks, and Jalen Wells from the Memphis Grizzlies. Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Jokic again make up the Clutch Player of the Year options. And lastly, the Coach of the Year will either be Kenny Atkinson of the Cleveland Cavaliers, J.B. Bickerstaff of the Detroit Pistons, or Ime Udoka of the Houston Rockets. Winners will be announced over the coming weeks. So the play-in tournament is in the books. The play-in tournament Eastern Conference eliminations were the Chicago Bulls and Atlanta Hawks, and the Western Conference play-in tournament eliminations were the Sacramento Kings and the Dallas Mavericks. So similar to last week's episode, this is a special edition of Diehlman at Halftime. I will go over my power rankings predictions from October and compare them to the actual standings by best to worst record. The headings for each section remain the same from last time. Some teams are ahead of others because of head-to-head tiebreakers. I took these rankings from ESPN. This episode is entitled The Hierarchy. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment? Alright, so for my power rankings predictions, we will start with the top 10 teams in the NBA, this section being the elite teams. I will give you my original predictions from back in October, and then we'll look at the actual standings that just happened. We will go in a descending order, so we'll start with the top teams and work our way down. My original predictions: the Boston Celtics, Oklahoma City Thunder, New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers, Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks, Indiana Pacers, Phoenix Suns, and the Milwaukee Bucks. The actual results: Oklahoma City Thunder, Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics, Houston Rockets, New York Knicks, LA Lakers, Denver Nuggets, Indiana Pacers, LA Clippers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. My reasoning: I really didn't do too badly in this section. 6 of my original teams ended up here. I figured the Celtics and Thunder would be 2 of the top 3 teams in the league. Their squads have too much firepower. Anyone that tells you they had Cleveland in the top 3 guaranteed back in October is lying. Having Dallas in here at 7th wasn't a whiff when the season started. Looking back on it, Imagine if someone told you what Nico Harrison was cooking back in July. The same thing can be said about the Sixers. The Mavericks' season derailed because of trades. The Sixers were destroyed by injuries. There was a four-way tie for sixth in this section: the LA Lakers, Denver, Indiana, and the LA Clippers. I might have underestimated the Lakers and Clippers a bit. I was one spot off for the Nuggets, 6th instead of 7th, and 2 for the Knicks, 3rd instead of 5th. The Timberwolves were a few spots down than I thought. There was one prediction on the nose in this section. I had Indiana as 8th in both the original and actual standings. Go me. The Pacers aren't going to rule the NBA, nor are they going to slide. They are definitely in contending status. Overall, not terrible. Next up, we have the middle 10 teams, teams 11 through 20, labeled the "you're getting there but not quite" teams. We'll start with my original predictions, and then we will reveal the actual in a descending order. My predictions: the Sacramento Kings, Cleveland Cavaliers, Memphis Grizzlies, Orlando Magic, Miami Heat, New Orleans Pelicans, LA Lakers, LA Clippers, Houston Rockets, and the Golden State Warriors. The actual: Golden State Warriors, Memphis Grizzlies, Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Orlando Magic, Atlanta Hawks, Sacramento Kings, Chicago Bulls, Dallas Mavericks, and the Miami Heat. My reasoning: so close again. I had the Grizzlies at 13 instead of 12, and the Magic at 14 instead of 15. 5 of my original picks landed in this section. As we mentioned a moment ago, having Cleveland here was fair, although I can't say the same about others. We had 3 ties in this section, and when I mean ties, I mean they had the exact same record. The Warriors, Grizzlies, and Bucks were the first, the Hawks and Kings were the second, and the Bulls and Mavericks were the third. Houston took a huge leap this season, going from just outside the play-in tournament to the second seed in a tough Western Conference. Despite originally having the Warriors in this section at number 20, they landed at number 11. Never count out Steph Curry, and the Jimmy Butler trade was a tremendous boost. Speaking of boosts, how about Detroit going from number 29 in my predictions to number 14? The MUP for New Orleans, or most unfortunate player, was the injury report. Zion Williamson's health is always a what if. Next year will be huge for them to determine the franchise's direction. The Heat became the first 10 seed in NBA history to escape the play-in tournament and make the 8th seed. They eliminated Atlanta, who made the actual here but not my original. Similar to New Orleans, they need to make up their mind. Are they contending or are they tanking? Finally, we have the bottom 10 teams, teams 21 through 30, and this section being labeled Code Red, this is not a drill. So once again, my original predictions versus the actual results. My original predictions: the San Antonio Spurs, Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors, Charlotte Hornets, Chicago Bulls, Utah Jazz, Portland Trail Blazers, Washington Wizards, Detroit Pistons, and the Brooklyn Nets. The actual: Phoenix Suns, Portland Trail Blazers, San Antonio Spurs, Toronto Raptors, Brooklyn Nets, Philadelphia 76ers, New Orleans Pelicans, Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards, and the Utah Jazz. My reasoning: woof, the Phoenix Suns are awful. I had them at 9th in October, and here they are at number 21. The Suns took a swing for Kevin Durant, and the results have not been favorable. Not from Durant, but from the overall team. 7 of my original picks resurface here. But there were some predictions one spot off again. I had Toronto at 23 instead of 24. I placed Washington at 28 instead of 29. Everything else was pretty much expected. San Antonio's season was officially over when Victor Wembanyama was ruled out with deep vein thrombosis, the same thing Damian Lillard has. Despite Brandon Ingram not suiting up for Toronto yet, next season should be fun. Teams like Utah and Washington are happy that Cooper Flagg has officially entered the draft. Seeing the 76ers back in this section is a familiar sight from the process days. They are praying their top 6 protected pick doesn't defer to Oklahoma City. Portland being at the top of this section with Phoenix means they're showing some improvement. They were tied, by the way. My hot take from October was to see Charlotte take a step under new head coach Charles Lee. Not for a title run, but maybe a play-in tournament spot. They finished 14th in the Eastern Conference. So my number of predictions correct, drum roll please, 1. 1 out of 30. That was the Indiana Pacers at number 8 in the first section. Now, something I didn't do last year. Teams in the correct section. Remember I kept saying, 5 of my original predictions were here? Teams in the correct section, 18 out of 30. So the predictions correct, that was if they lined up exactly in the original and actual standings. Teams in the correct section, 18 of 30, that was if they were in the right grouping, but not in the right order. I will take it and run with it. Onward to the playoffs. To get more insight into our Power Rankings predictions review this week, we have our 13th guest on Diehlman at Halftime Season 2. Let's get into it. So for our 13th guest of Season 2 on the Diehlman at Halftime podcast, we welcome Keith Pompey. Keith is a Philadelphia 76ers writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer and the vice president of Pro Hoops Writers. His writing has garnered awards such as the 2022 National Sports Media Association Pennsylvania Sports Writer of the Year, the 2023 Philadelphia Sports Writers Association Stan Hochman Award, and the 2021 Associated Press Top 10 Award for Breaking News. Keith has a degree from the University of Pittsburgh in Communications. Keith, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. We're starting the NBA playoffs, so a lot of stuff going on. So, Keith, I wanted to get your thoughts on how the NBA seedings played out as we review my power rankings predictions. So, in the first episode of the season, I ranked all 30 teams 1 through 30. Some were a little good, maybe not so much others. So, my first question for you, probably one of my worst takes from earlier this season was having the Pistons as the second to last team in the league. Was that a fair assumption coming into this year, seeing as how they were the worst team last year? Did you expect them to jump over the play-in tournament entirely?
Nah, I mean, that was a fair assessment that you had because when you look at it, it was kind of sort of. Now, again, I know they brought in Tobias Harris and they brought in a couple other guys, right? But for the most part, it was like you're getting a new coach, and we're talking about a team that was horrible last year. So for them to make this jump is major jump. I mean, if someone bet on them, I'm pretty sure they're driving around in a Rolls Royce right about now because of all that. So no, you like it looked crazy now the way you said it, but at the same time, I feel like you having them having the second worst record. I feel like you were being kind of nice to them because I thought they were going to be the worst team in the league this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. My bottom 3 teams I had were the Wizards, the Pistons, and lastly, the Nets. Wizards and Nets were pretty obvious, but the Pistons, they just made such a leap this year and it's not like they redid the entire team. It's not like they just wiped out everybody and brought in a new, no. I mean, you still have Cade Cunningham, you still have Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. It's just like they brought in some free agents, and obviously they told Monty Williams to take a hike, but pretty much a similar team. And now that they're in the 6th seed, it's definitely one of the best stories of the year. So next, the Suns have been on the decline in recent years, despite a finals appearance in the 2020s. How can they fix their situation of Bradley Beal's contract, KD not getting any younger, and limited draft capital? I had them at number 9 back in October, and I think that was, again, a pretty fair assumption, but they're just stuck.
Yeah, you know what? They're stuck, and it seems like the thing that would help them the most would be getting rid of Bradley Beal. But Bradley Beal has that no trade, and I don't think he wants to go anywhere. He loves the Phoenix area. You don't want to get rid of Devin Booker. So it looks like to me that KD is probably going to have to be the guy. Now, KD is a guy that you could probably get something for just because there's going to be a team that wants to win a championship and they're going to give you some assets for him to help fill out a roster. But I just can't see Bradley leaving, and I'm not getting rid of Book. So it's going to have to be KD. KD is going to have to be the guy that you move. And let's face it, I think that KD might be even ready to leave right about now, the way this whole season has gone.
Yeah, their situation is a hot mess, and I've been seeing rumors, and I assume you have too, that KD to the Rockets is looking like an option. If KD goes to the Rockets, it's over. The Rockets are the second team in the Western Conference for a reason. Even with Kevin Durant being like 37 years old, if you put him on that Rockets team, it's over. And he's never escaping the allegations of he needs a super team to compete or win. Like, that would be ridiculous. And I think you have a point. Devin Booker is the franchise. He's not going anywhere. It seems like he's been in the league for like 20 years and he's still like 29 years old. So, yeah. But Bradley Beal, that no trade clause, I don't know why he has a no trade clause. You can thank the Wizards for that, but he's not going anywhere. It might be KD after all. So, the Suns definitely have work to do over the summer. So, next, is there a team that caught you off guard, obviously, besides the Pistons? Is there a team that caught you off guard? For example, how good or bad they were compared to your expectations?
You know what? The one team that has the number one seed in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I did not expect them to be this good or have this record. Like Oklahoma City, I kind of, after OKC, what they did last year, you expected them to have a phenomenal season, not to this extent. But Cleveland, like I remember when they were up and they were like the first 13 games, they were like had was just seemed like they just had a huge head start. And you kept saying to yourself, okay, don't worry, they're going to come back. They're going to come back to the pack. And they didn't. And so to me, Kenny Atkins has done a great job, but that team surprised me. They just really did. Because think about it. This time last year, we're hearing stuff about how Darius Garland wanted out. Rich Paul wanted him out of there, his agent, right? And how guys didn't get along. And they kept the guys intact. And now it's like, we are family. Everyone loves each other, So that team has been the big surprise for me, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, the Cavs have just seemed unstoppable at points. They've had like two 15-game winning streaks, and the Celtics still almost caught up. So that just tells you all you need to know with the Eastern Conference. It's the Cavs and the Celtics for sure. I think they'll definitely be in contention for the Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, the Cavs, ironically, they faced the Celtics in the playoffs last year, and I think it was a quick series, maybe 5 or 6. So definitely something to look forward to. The Cavs as the number one seed in the East. And as of this recording, they will take on either the Hawks or the Heat in the first round, depending on how the 8th seed in the play-in tournament goes. So a lot to look forward to with Cleveland. So to wrap things up, which team can you see taking a Pistons-esque jump next season? So bottom team, a mid team, and just maybe either getting maybe the 7th seed in the play-in tournament or maybe like the 4, 5, 6 or something along those lines. And does that team need to hit a home run in the draft, just sign some pieces in free agency? Both? What are we thinking?
You know what? I think a lot of people may say, I'm going to say the 76ers because I covered the Sixers and this and that, but I'm thinking the Pelicans, right? I'm thinking the Pelicans because when we think of the Pelicans, I mean, just like the Sixers, they had a lot of injuries, but it's not to the extent of what the Sixers have. I mean, to their core players. I mean, yeah, they had them, but not like these are still young guys. The injuries aren't as bad. We're talking about Joel Embiid. Now, I do think that they're going to get a quality draft pick, but even with that, I just think that when you look at Zion, Williamson, like I just think that he's going to be a beast. I like some of the moves that they made. They have a nice young team, a nice young core, and now they have Joe Dumars running the front office, right? So I just think that they're going to be the team that's set up to make that leap. The Sixers, we got to wait and see, and there's some other teams that the Wizards, I don't have faith in them. the Utah Jazz. I feel like they're still a couple years away, but I feel like New Orleans, once they get this draft pick, they're going to add to the group that they have, that they're going to be in position to, make it to a playoff team next year.
Zion just needs to be healthy. They have DeJounte Murray. They got him from Atlanta, so that should be good. They have CJ McCollum. It's just, and they got rid of Brandon Ingram too. He's now in Toronto. So there's definitely pieces there in New Orleans. Now, I saw a rumor, maybe it was yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, and it said Willie Green, the head coach, seemingly lost the locker room. He called the team soft because something like the Pelicans set a record for 40-point losses in a season, and he called them soft. So I don't know if Willie Green's going to be there next year or if they bring in somebody else or hire one of the assistants. But I think the Pelicans, that's a good choice from you. And just looking at my power rankings from earlier in the year, I definitely think, like you said, the Jazz, a couple years away, the Wizards, who knows with them. I expected, honestly, at the beginning of the year, I thought the Hornets would maybe do something if LaMelo stayed healthy, but obviously that was not the case, and his injury history is quite concerning. Maybe the Bulls or the Hawks, if they get maybe a couple pieces, they could do something. But as of right now, I would definitely say the Pelicans are a good option. So, Keith, thank you so much for popping on Diehlman at halftime, and hopefully we can get you on in the future.
Oh, I'd love to be on the future, and thanks for having me on.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on social media. I have 2 X or Twitter accounts and 2 Instagram accounts. The podcast accounts are under @Diehlman_NBA for both X and Instagram. My personal X account is @LarryDiehlman18, and my personal Instagram is @Mr_Sports18. They're also in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you to Keith Pompey for being our guest this week on the podcast. Remember, you can follow him on X and Instagram @PompeyOnSixers. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.